As for how to achieve Fa Wuhan, Yi Ming has no old rules to follow. He can only explore by himself, so it is impossible to achieve results in a short time. He was not discouraged, and turned to study the club in the giant's head. For this stick, he named it Heavenly Slaughter Stick, with mysterious runes inscribed on it by himself, which is very powerful. The Heavenly Slaughter Stick is not only one of his holy martial souls, but also his main weapon in the future, which will be used when fighting the enemy. Therefore, he has spared no effort in improving the Heavenly Killing Stick, and the inscription patterns on it have been branded layer after layer. Densely dense, more and more complex and profound. A few days later, Tianzhu has found out the Baihu occult. The leader of Baihu occult, Tian Bogong, has a very noble status, and the concubine of the crown prince of the Suzaku dynasty is his younger sister. It is precisely because of this relationship that he can establish the 100 Flowers sect and enjoy the beauty in the world. Under the protection and connivance of Suzaku Prince Zhang Taishang, the 100 Flowers sect did all kinds of evil, but no force dared to sanction it. Especially after the Tianyuan continent fell into chaos, the 100 Flowers sect became even more unscrupulous, and began to rob girls wantonly for Tian Bogong's practice. The exercise that Tian Bogong practiced is called Jueyang Shenggong, which is an evil exercise that nourishes yin and nourishes yang. The promotion is rapid and powerful. It is precisely because of this evil skill that Tian Bogong was able to achieve the status of a god at a young age, with extraordinary strength. Tian Bogong's evil deeds are so great that he can be ranked on the list of villains, which shows how serious his evil deeds are. After reading the situation of the 100 Flowers sect, Yi Ming immediately summoned the sky arresting masters to surround and kill the 100 Flowers sect. In Tianzhu, there are 8 gods, all of them are in the Fatian realm. In addition, there are 6 new martial gods and 24 martial saints. Everyone, we are going to eliminate the 100 Flowers sect next. There are several gods in the 100 Flowers sect, which cannot be underestimated, so I decided to set a trap and capture the thief and the king. Duan Gongming. What's the trick of the deputy leader? Yi Ming said with a smile. Then Bai Huajiao likes young and beautiful women. We will find a group of beautiful women, and we are not afraid that they will not be fooled. Duan Gongming's eyes lit up, and he said, the deputy leader is proficient in formations. If he sets up a killing formation, the villains who protect and teach the 100 Flowers sect will come and go. After some preparations, Yi Ming and other masters of sky arrest appeared in a city in the territory of the former Suzaku dynasty. Due to the ravages of the 100 Flowers sect, this originally prosperous city has become very ruined. In the broad daylight, there are few merchants, and the doors of every house are closed, and few people go out. Yi Ming sent people to buy a large house in the city, and started construction work. But secretly, he set up a killing array. In just a few days, a luxurious house sprang up from the ground and became a landscape in the small city. As soon as the house was built, a group of people walked in. There were 24 sedan chairs, and a beautiful woman sat in each sedan chair. The dilapidated city seemed to be alive with the appearance of the beauties. Many people went to the gate of the mansion to watch the excitement. Their expressions were very strange, and some people whispered, haven't this family heard of the 100 Flowers sect? They dare to live here, they really don't want to live. Maybe he has a lot of background. No matter how insane the 100 Flowers sect is, they can't just attack anyone, right? HMPH, have you ever heard that there is no family that the 100 Flowers sect dare not mess with? Back then, the city lord's daughter was 3-point beautiful, but she was snatched away if she was different. The city lord led someone to rescue him, but he was beheaded by the 100 Flowers sect leader. Sigh, what a lawless person. Nah, who is calling him the prince's brother-in-law? And now that the army is in turmoil, who will care about him? Everyone sighed. When the beauties entered the house, the door was immediately closed. In the crowd, a young man with a deer-headed mouse face smiled sinisterly, shrank his body, entered the crowd, and disappeared. Not far from the city, there is a mountain of flowers in full bloom. It was originally a holy place for sightseeing with a radius of thousands of miles. Every spring and summer, a large number of tourists come to visit. However, with the establishment of the Hundred Flowers sect, this has become a haunted place where people fear, and no one dares to come here anymore. On Baihua Mountain, countless high-rise buildings were built, and deep houses were everywhere. At this moment, in a courtyard, that little man with a row-headed mouse hurried in and said excitedly, "Master, I have a goal." The one called the leader is naturally Tian Bogong, the leader of the Hundred Flowers sect. This Tian Bogong is actually only in his 30s, but he is already a god. He looks only in his 20s, with slightly dark skin, thick and short eyebrows, and very crooked eyes. "Oh, squirrel, what did you find?" Tian Bogong was lying on a beautiful woman's lap for a nap. When he heard this, he opened his eyes slightly and asked softly. The deer-headed mouse-eyed man smiled and said, "Master, there are 24 beauties in the city, and they are all stunning." Tian Bogong sat up all at once, his eyes flickering strangely. The absolute yang divine art he practiced has a characteristic: the more beautiful and glamorous a woman is, the stronger his skill will be improved. So he always only looks for beautiful women, he doesn't even look at those with average looks. There are 24 of them. Don't they know the prestige of this sect, master, and dare to come here to settle down? Someone, find out the identity of the master for me, and report me quickly. Immediately someone was ordered to go, and it took 2 full hours before someone came to report. "Master, I have already found out. It is a family who retired from the east and returned home. Those 24 beauties, all of them it's his family's female relatives." Tian Bogong smiled. Hee. Damn it, you really know how to enjoy 24 beauties, can he handle it? The person who came to report said, "The other party seems to know about our Hundred Flowers sect. I heard from the servant inside that this family is going to leave tonight." Tian Bogong laughed haha and said, "Leave? Now that you've come to my territory, can you still leave? Come on, my leader will go out in person, let's grab the beauties." Tian Bogong acts exaggeratedly and cherishes his life like a mouse. Every time he goes out, he always takes all the masters with him. In the Hundred Flowers sect, not counting him, there are 2 martial gods, 12 martial saints, and a large number of martial venerables and martial lords. So many masters were taken by him in a mighty way, and they all flew towards the city arrogantly with the black light. This is not the first time that the Hundred Flowers cult has acted. When people saw the black light covering the sky and the sun, they all lay down in their homes, thinking which one is going to be unlucky again. Could it be the new big family? Sure enough, the black light fell on the top of the newly built house. Tian Bogong landed in front of the house, and one of his subordinates shouted loudly, "Haiwa Hierarch is here, the master here, why don't you hurry to greet him?" There were panic screams in the house, most of them were women's voices. Hearing the screams of these women, Tian Bogong smiled on his face, as if enjoying it very much. The women's screams made Tian Bogong's heart very excited. He laughed triumphantly and said loudly, "Beauties, don't panic, I will be gentler to you." Immediately, Tian Bogong led a group of masters, who appeared in the house very arrogantly like magic soldiers descending from the sky, and they all looked for the beauty with strange smiles. However, looking around, there are mysterious talisman lights all around, flickering indefinitely. Huh, did you hit the trick? Tian Bogong was able to become a warrior. After all, he had something extraordinary, so he immediately knew something was wrong, and he was the first to activate his supernatural powers, trying to escape from the scene. But at this moment, countless runes flickered, and the space was tightly sealed. Let alone escape. He couldn't even use any supernatural powers now. Uncle Tian was not afraid in the face of danger, and asked coldly, "Where is your friend? What is the purpose of this move? Idiot, of course I will kill you." Duan Gongming responded with a sneer. Tian Bogong was not afraid at all, he smiled grimly and said, "Do you know who the leader of this sect is? Zhang Taisheng's brother-in-law. If you want to use this identity to scare us, then you are very wrong. Even if you are Emperor Suzaku, you will never leave alive today." Duan Gongming shouted. Tian Bogong's heart sank. He never expected that the other party would be so bold as to ignore Prince Suzaku. Who are they? For the first time, he had a feeling of fear, and said loudly, "My friend, aren't you afraid of Prince Suzaku's revenge?" Yi Ming couldn't help but said, "Idiot, Zhang Taisheng can't protect himself. Now he is busy grabbing land, will he have the time to talk to you? Don't say kill you. Even if you kill your princess's sister, Zhang Taisheng probably doesn't care." Tian Bogong knew that today was going to be a big trouble, and he might really die here, so he immediately changed his expression and said with a dry smile, "My friend, we should have no grievances or enmities, right? Although I have no grievances or enmities with you, the innocent girl who died at your hands has a heinous blood feud with you. Today, the Sky Arrestor is going to do justice for the heavens, punish the evil and protect the good." What? You are members of the Hoshin sect? Tian Bogong's face was ashen. This Hoshin sect is a rebellious sect he dared to fight against the 5 great dynasties and the 4 great gods. It's doomed. Friends, don't kill me. What good will it do you to kill me? If you can let me live, I am willing to pay the price. Tian Bogong was extremely smart, and immediately offered an exchange. Over the years, I have accumulated countless wealth, and I can give it to you Hoshin sect. I can even join your teaching and do my best for your teaching. How could Tianju take in such a heinous person like you? Yi Ming snorted coldly. Tian Bogong, die. Boom. Under the urging of the heavenly catching gods, Yi Ming's killing array was running crazily, and a ray of killing light was extinguished. Before Tian Bogong even had time to think, he was already smashed into pieces, and even his divine form was smashed to pieces. As for the remaining 100 Blossoms sect masters, they couldn't hold on for long, they were all strangled by the killing array, and none of them survived. Not long after, Yi Ming withdrew the killing array, and the real face of the house was revealed again. There was a layer of minced meat on the ground. These were all the Baihuajiao people who were slaughtered, including Tian Bogong. The members of Tianju looked at the ground in disbelief, and still can't believe that the 100 Flowers cult has been destroyed. Although they predicted that Yi Ming's killing array would be very powerful, they did not expect it to be so strong. The 3 martial gods, more than a dozen martial saints, were killed without even a chance to fight back. The elite of the 100 Flowers sect was wiped out in one fell swoop, and the rest were not worth mentioning. Duan Gongming immediately led a gang of arrests, trampled the 100 Flowers sect to the ground in just one night, and rescued a large number of innocent women. At the time of Tianju's operation, Heio Qianzhao was also doing its best to publicize the merits and righteous deeds of Tianju nearby. At first people didn't believe it was true, until someone went to Baihua Mountain and saw the dead bodies all over the place, they were overjoyed. The news spread like the wind. With the 100 Flowers sect as the center, people around thousands of miles away celebrated with no one playing their crowns, and every household set off firecrackers. Especially those families who had been abused by the 100 Flowers sect brought gifts one after another to thank the heavenly catchment. All of a sudden, the prestige of Hoshin sect, especially Tianjuo, reached a very high level in the local area, and everyone yearned for it. A large number of people began to believe in Hoshin sect, and even joined Tianjuo. Even Yi Ming was shocked by the effect of eliminating the 100 Flowers sect. The Hoshin sect gained a firm foothold within a radius of thousands of miles overnight. If someone dared to say a bad word about Hoshin sect, the people around him would definitely beat him to death. Facts have proved that Yi Ming's plan is very effective, so he aimed at a villain ranked 99th, the head of Yinshan College, Yin Juxi. The Tianyun investigation found that Yin Juxi, as the principal of Yinshan College, was a violent person. While practicing the 9 yin resentful spirits, he intentionally tortured innocent people to make them feel resentful to help him practice. He has done the most evil in his life, even surpassing Tian Bogong, the leader of 100 Flowers. However, compared to Tian Bogong, this Yin Juxi has a lot of history. He is not only the headmaster of Yinshan College, but also the younger brother of King Yinshan. Yinshan Kingdom, Donghai Kingdom, and Kang Kingdom were originally the three major kingdoms of the Qinglong dynasty. The three major academies they established were also powerful academies second only to the four major academies, and Yinshan Academy was one of them. In terms of comprehensive strength, Yinshan College is much stronger than the original Dongqi College, and the strength of this Yin Juxi is also unpredictable. He is already a strong man in the 8th realm of Fadian, and he will break through to the longevity realm in a short time. If you deal with Yin Juxi, you will definitely alarm the king of Yin Mountain. The kingdom of the king of Yinshan has strong national power. After Tianyuan fell into chaos, it took the opportunity to invade and occupy a large number of neighboring countries, and its strength was further expanded. In Tianhuntang, Yin Juxi's portrait was hung on the wall, and Yi Ming was staring at him. Vice leader, I'm afraid this Yin Juxi will be difficult to deal with, we'd better take a long-term plan. Duan Gongming felt a little guilty, obviously he didn't have much chance of winning. Yi Ming was silent for a moment, and said lightly, what we want to kill is Yin Juxi, not Yinshan College. So, as long as he gets rid of him, the matter will be completed. But the deputy leader, Yin Juxi, as the head of the school, I'm afraid he won't leave the academy easily. Duan Gongming said, unless we can lure him out. It will definitely be drawn out. Yi Ming said, information says that this Yin Juxi likes good wine, we just need to open a restaurant. Duan Gongming's eyes lit up. The deputy leader means to set up a killing array in the restaurant and kill him. Why do you need to kill? Yi Ming said lightly, I am the ancestor who used poison, so I will use poison to deal with him this time. Hearing that Yi Ming was going to use poison, everyone was a little surprised. After all, for most warriors, they are not good at using poison, and more or less, they despise and fear those who use poison. Yi Ming seemed to understand everyone's thoughts. He said lightly, what is martial arts? Stop fighting for martial arts. If you can solve the enemy without fighting, this is the first choice. Someone seemed to disagree with this point, and couldn't help but said, Deputy leader, but if everyone thinks this way, how can martial arts develop? Yi Ming laughed and said, it is enough for us to understand a little bit. What is the purpose of force? It's very simple, to deter and kill the enemy. As long as the force can achieve these 2 points, it is good force. Everyone was thoughtful, although they didn't fully agree with it, they felt that Yi Ming's words were very reasonable. Opening a restaurant cannot be completed in a day or two. If it is too hasty, it will definitely arouse the suspicion of the target. So Yi Ming was very calm. He decided to spend a few months to make the restaurant famous first, so as to attract the target to go, and then implement his plan. During the period of running the restaurant, he can also do other things separately. Although the Haoshan sect has continued to grow and expand, taking advantage of the chaos in the world to expand its territory, it has also been severely suppressed in some areas. Qinglong Dynasty, the first hardest hit area. Although the Azure Dragon formation was killed, and the dynasty was encroached on a large amount of land by the Five Elements God dynasty, the Azure Dragon dynasty did not disappear. As soon as the news of Emperor Qinglong's death came out, Prince Qinglong gathered a group of people with common interests to ascend the throne and proclaim himself emperor in Dongdu, becoming a new generation of Emperor Qinglong. However, at this time, the Qinglong dynasty was no longer as strong as it used to be. The area of the Qinglong dynasty was less than 1/10 of its original size, and it was only concentrated in the area around the eastern capital. The first thing the new Qinglong emperor did was not to restore the rivers and mountains, but to encircle and suppress the Haoshan sect with all his strength, because the Haoshan sect was developing extremely rapidly near the Qinglong dynasty, which made it feel threatened. The encirclement and suppression by the Qinglong dynasty caused the Haoshan sect to suffer heavy losses, and a large number of believers were killed. As a result, some people who originally joined the sect were also forced to quit the Haoshan sect. For a time, within the Qinglong dynasty's rule, the Haoshan sect's power was almost empty. This change made Yi Ming very upset, so after setting up the restaurant, he rushed to Dongdu as soon as possible. This is not the first time he has come to Dongdu. He has been in Qinglong College for a while and is quite familiar with it. When he arrived in the eastern capital, the first thing he did was to find out who controlled the current Qinglong dynasty. Undoubtedly, restaurants are the easiest places to inquire about news. The most famous restaurants in the eastern capital were not affected by the current situation, and their business was even better. At this moment, Yi Ming is in a restaurant called Yudinglu, drinking alone quietly, but his ears are constantly receiving the conversations of the diners around him. Some bits and pieces of information were organized by him to form a complete information structure. Today's Qinglong dynasty is actually controlled by the Qinglong royal family. The original Qinglong prince was promoted to the Qinglong emperor, and all the princes and relatives also held important positions. This kind of governance structure is based on common interests, so the execution efficiency is extremely high, and there is also a strong loyalty among members. In today's Qinglong dynasty, besides the newly appointed Qinglong emperor, there are 12 extremely powerful princes, including the king of Donghai and the king of Yinshan. The 12 kings each sit on one side and support each other, and behind each prince is the support of various forces, large and small. For example, the prince, the former 39 princes, is supreme, and the power behind him is a newly rising sect, the Blood River sect. When Yi Ming heard the word Blood River, he was very surprised. He felt that the Blood River cult must be related to the underground Blood River. The power of the Blood River sect is expanding rapidly, and there are already tens of billions of believers, and Feng Wusheng is also the deputy leader of the Blood River sect. The remaining 11 princes also have the support of various forces behind them, and there are even shadows of the 4 great sacred lands and various holy places. Among the 12 princes, it is not Feng Wusheng who is currently in charge of encircling and suppressing Haoshan sect. Therefore, the main opponent Yi Ming is currently facing is actually Feng Wusheng. When he was in Qinglong Academy, Feng Wusheng had bad intentions towards Mirong Shuijiao and Yan Ruyu, and the two sides had serious conflicts as a result. At that time, he was the prince of the Qinglong dynasty, and Yi Ming was just a nobody. Even so, he still didn't take advantage of it, and was taught a lesson by Yi Ming. Times have changed, Qinglong dynasty is no longer what it used to be, and Feng Wusheng is no longer what it used to be. Yi Ming further inquired that the reason why Feng Wusheng was willing to take over the task of destroying the Haoshan sect was because he had practiced an evil skill that required a lot of human essence and blood. Hunt down the master of Haoshan sect, and he will be able to suck people's blood unscrupulously. Yi Ming has also come into contact with Feng Wusheng's blood shadow magical skill, and this skill has advanced rapidly. But the further it goes, the more it needs to absorb the blood of stronger characters. In the end, only the blood of the peerless strong will help. Therefore, throughout the ages, people who cultivate the blood shadow god have often made the world's masters fearful, and one day they will unite to kill them. After hearing enough news, it was getting late, and he was about to go back to his room to rest, but a fat man with a yellow face walked in, followed by a thin black man. The two chatted while walking. Their clothes and temperament were very extraordinary. It could be seen that they were upper-class people with a decent status. The two of them were busy with travel and dust, and the fat man called out impatiently as soon as he sat down, "Xiao serve the best food and drink, hurry up, we have to hurry." Xiao responded quickly, and served exquisite dishes in a short while. Fat people and thin people are not weak in cultivation, they are both wuzong, and their demand for storage is not strong, but more to satisfy their appetites. The restaurant where Yi Ming is located is very famous for its dishes, and many dignitaries are willing to patronize this place. Of course, the consumption here is also extremely high. Yi Ming sat here for a day, only drinking some tea, and the money he spent was as high as thousands of French coins. While eating and drinking, the fat man said, "Old he, what kind of woman do you think our prince can't find? He insisted on kidnapping that little girl named Yan Ruyu from thousands of miles away. That's not enough, and that girl named Mirong Shui delicate woman found." The thin man smiled and said, Old Ma, as the saying goes, the best thing is what you can't get. I guess, our prince wanted to get these two girls but failed. Now he is promoted to god and is a prince. Of course to fulfill old wishes. The fat man curled his lips. Forget about these two girls. What's the matter with Wu Chenying? He would rather offend the true dragon Holy Land than take him down. Isn't that too reckless? The thin man scratched his head. I'm also curious about this matter. What does the prince like about Wu Chenying? Her appearance? Or her military talent? The former doesn't quite match her words, but the latter, does the prince still lack generals who can fight well? Hearing this, Yi Ming narrowed his eyes. The prince they were talking about must be Feng Wushang. Now that Yan Ruyu, Ji Rushui, and even Wu Chenying have all been taken down by him, it is self-evident what his purpose is. Yi Ming is such a smart person, he immediately understood Feng Wushang's intentions. Feng Wushang moved his mind on the second daughter at the beginning, but he destroyed it in the end. Later, he was repeatedly beaten by Yi Ming's hands. It is conceivable how much hatred he felt in his heart. Now he took advantage of the power in his hand to take down the two daughters in one fell swoop, the purpose of which was naturally to lure Yi Ming out and get rid of them quickly. Feng Wushang, since you want to see me so much, I will meet you. Yi Ming drank the wine in his glass, got up and left. At this moment, his purpose of coming to Qinglong dynasty has changed. He must rescue Yan Ruyu and Marong Shuijiao. In an inn in Dongdu, Yi Ming activated a message talisman. Message talismans exist in pairs. If one is activated, the other will be induced no matter how far apart. And that other message talisman is in the hands of the Sky Fox God. He wondered how the mother of such a strong Yan Ruyu Yutian Fox God was kidnapped, so he wanted to ask clearly. By the way, he also hopes that Tianyu God can help him. From the other end of the message symbol, there was a gentle and indifferent voice, which was the voice of Tianyu God. Boy, why are you looking for my old lady? Yi Ming cut to the chase and asked directly, where is Yan Ruyu? You said Ruyu. Didn't she go looking for you? The other party asked strangely. Yi Ming was taken aback. Looking for me? When did it happen? Tianyu God suddenly felt that the situation was not good, and his tone became urgent. 5 days ago, Ruyu received a message from you and made an appointment to meet in Dongdu, isn't it? Yi Ming sighed. I have never dated Ruyu. The person who asked her is Feng Wushang. The wind is supreme. Naturally, such a great power as Tianyu God has never heard of a mere prince, and he has no impression in his mind. Yi Ming briefly explained the grievances between the two parties, and said, Senior, that Feng Wushang wants to use Yan Ruyu and Marong Shuijiao to lure me to show up, and then harm me. Tianyu God said angrily. Damn it, kid. My daughter never offended him, how dare he do that? Even though thousands of miles away, Yi Ming could still feel the strong murderous intent of the other party. He said, Don't worry, Senior, I have already made up my mind, and I will definitely be able to rescue Ruyu. Tianyu God pondered. This matter is caused by you, of course you have to solve it, I will help from the side. Also, don't call me seniors, just call me Aunt Bai. Yi Ming blinked. Is Aunt Bai's surname Bai? Tianyu said. When I fell in love with Rushui's father, I used the surname Bai. Yi Ming. Okay, I will call you Aunt Bai from now on. Aunt Bai, you'd better come here now, and let's discuss countermeasures together. Tianyu God. As the elder of the Qishan sect, I am currently on a mission, and I will arrive tomorrow. During this time, don't act rashly, everything will be discussed when I arrive. I understand. Yi Ming said quickly. The two parties broke off contact, and Yi Ming urged another message talisman, and the other end of the message talisman was held in Feng Zai's hand. At this moment, Feng Shi was sitting in the military tent, with a group of princes from Qinglong dynasty standing respectfully in front of him. However, her head is the Azure Dragon Emperor. At this moment, the two sides are arguing and their opinions are conflicting. Feng Shi said, My lord, the Haoshan sect is nothing to worry about, why should we spend our energy on it? It's better to capture the city with all our strength and restore the rivers and mountains. The new emperor ascended the throne with great power, and he said calmly, "My aunt's words are certainly reasonable, but the Haoshan sect is the biggest cancer in the world. If you fight against the outside world, you must first settle the inside. If the Haoshan sect is not eliminated, I will feel uneasy." The rest of the emperor's uncles and princes said one after another, "What the emperor said is very true. The Haoshan sect has been a disaster for many years, and now the world is in chaos, and the Haoshan sect is also affected. We just take the opportunity to eradicate it, so as to prevent future troubles forever." Feng Shishou frowned, and said, "The Haoshan sect not only existed in the Qinglong dynasty, but also developed in other dynasties. Get rid of it today, and it will revive in the future." The new emperor's face was a bit ugly, and he waved his hand impatiently. "I have made up my mind to continue to wipe out the remaining Haoshan evildoers." Feng Shi sighed lightly and said nothing more. Although she is powerful and an imperial aunt, she is not the Azure Dragon Emperor after all, and there are some things she can't decide. Afterwards, the new emperor said again, "The God Lord ordered someone to send a letter of agreement, hoping to join hands with our Qinglong dynasty to eliminate other forces one by one. What do you think?" All the officials looked at each other in blank dismay, feeling that this was unbelievable. If it weren't for the God Lord, Qinglong dynasty wouldn't have come to this point, and the other party would join forces. However, it seems unclear what the new emperor meant, so no one said anything. Feng Shi said in a deep voice, "Great Emperor. The God Master is ambitious, and his goal is to rebuild the Five Elements dynasty. Cooperating with him is seeking skin from a tiger, and there will be no good results in the end. Even if we help him destroy other forces, in the end, can we be alone?" Officials still have no one to express their opinions. Tens of thousands of years of comfortable life have already made the bureaucrats of the dynasty extremely rotten. So if Xindi does not express their attitude, they will have no attitude. The new emperor glanced at Feng Shi lightly, and said, "Wanggu, the strongest enemies of the Divine Lord are the Divine Land and the Qishan sect. Before this balance is broken, he will never tear us apart. In this way, my Qinglong we can use its power to nibble away at some small forces and strengthen ourselves. When the three forces in the sky are all in danger, maybe we can still pick up some bargains." Feng Shi felt desolate when he heard this. She didn't understand why the son born to Qinglong Emperor was so incompetent and stupid. In her opinion, what Qinglong dynasty should do is not to expand, but to hold on to the remaining 1/3 of an acre of land, and then look for opportunities to grow. In today's world, any power that stands out will be severely suppressed, so Qinglong dynasty must not stand out. However, she didn't say anything at this time. She didn't know that no matter how reasonable her words were, the new emperor would not listen. Once some people hold power, they will suffer from a disease called big head syndrome, and they will be self-willed and willful. What does Huang Ji think? The new emperor continued to ask Feng Shi at this moment. Feng Shi felt the message talisman on her body respond, and she said lightly, "Since the emperor is like this, I have nothing to say, let me leave." After saying that, she got up and left. Immediately after Feng Shi left, some officials were dissatisfied and said, "Emperor, the aunt doesn't seem to respect the emperor, and I feel sad and angry." The new emperor snorted coldly. "Forget it, she is powerful, and she can still be used. When I am perfect, I won't need her anymore." After leaving the palace, Feng Shi took a deep breath, then activated the message symbol, and asked, "Yi Ming, what's the matter?" Yi Ming smiled and said, "It's okay, I miss you." A smile appeared on Feng Xi's face, but he said in his mouth, begging to be beaten, "Yi Ming, Feng Shi, I need your help with something." After that, he explained the situation of Yan Ruyu, Mirong Shuijiao, and Wu Chenying. Feng Shi couldn't help but said, "I didn't expect you to be so popular with women. I know Wu Chenying, she is a great beauty. I think Mirong Shuijiao and Yan Ruyu are not bad, right?" Yi Ming was a little embarrassed and said, "Feng Shi, don't talk nonsense, Wu Chenying is my master. Yan Ruyu, Marong Shuijiao and I have both practiced in Qinglong Academy, nothing else. Why are you nervous? Even if there are other things, I don't mind. Feng Shi said, you don't have to hide it if they weren't very important to you. Feng Wusheng would not use them to lure you out. Tell me, how are you going to let me help you? Help me save people, Yi Ming said. Find a way to take me into the place where people are locked up. Feng Shi thought for a while, and said, I have already decided to leave the palace and find a place to cultivate. Although I don't like these princes and grandchildren, but as the eldest princess, I can't be their enemy. You mean, you can't help me? Yi Ming was disappointed. Although I can't make a move, I can ask others to help me. Feng Shi said, she can also help you. Who? Yi Ming asked quickly. Shui Wanzher, Feng Shi said. Yi Ming was taken aback for a moment, and yelled strangely, what? Shui Wanzher. She is also in Dongdu. Feng Shi nodded. Last time when you broke up, Yuan Shantian failed after you leaked the news. Shui Wanzher was not in a good mood, so she came out to play and happened to meet me, so I invited him to come here as a guest. Yi Ming rolled his eyes. Will she help me? Feng Shi glanced at him lightly. Are you really not understanding, or are you pretending to be confused? That little girl has a deep affection for you. Yi Ming laughed dryly. Are you kidding? We haven't met a few times in total. Some people will never be together no matter how long they get along. Some people will be attracted to each other just by seeing each other. Feng Shi said, you are the magic star in Shui Wanzher's life, she can't escape, you are doomed. Yi Ming rolled his eyes. Okay, tell me what to do, it's very simple, meet Shui Wanzher. Feng Wusheng's group of people are all after Shui Wanzher, and she can easily take you into the place where people are locked up. Feng Shi said, remember, please make her happy, otherwise people may not be willing to help you. Yi Ming sighed. You let me do this, don't you feel jealous? If I don't like you, where is the jealousy? If I like you, I will naturally do things that are beneficial to you. Why are you jealous? Yi Ming's heart was shocked by Feng Zai's words, and he felt that it was very reasonable, but would such a woman like Feng Shi say really exist? The two parties agreed on a location, and Yi Ming set off immediately. There is a private garden in Dongdu, named Lushang Garden. Hundreds of flowers are blooming in Lushang Garden, the fragrance is overflowing, and the scenery is excellent. However, because it is a private garden, there are very few tourists. At this moment, there is a pavilion in the center of the garden, and there is a young girl sitting in the pavilion, it is that Shui Wanzher. Shui Wanzher looked at the mountain scenery in the distance, with her chin resting on her hand, she was in a daze. At this time, a figure appeared behind her, with a smile on the corner of the former's mouth, and asked, how dare you come to see me? Why don't I dare to see you? It was Yi Ming who came, and he replied lazily. As soon as Yi Ming entered Lushang Garden, he saw Shui Wanzher in a daze in the pavilion. He didn't disturb, but watched from a distance for a while, and then appeared. The meeting between the two parties was not as embarrassing as expected. You caused me to be scolded by my father, how will the debt be settled? Shui Wanzher asked angrily. Yi Ming curled his lips. If you want me to say, your father shouldn't scold you. Even if I didn't release the news, the God Lord would still take measures. I can conclude that he knew your father's conspiracy a long time ago, so he followed his plan and became the last winner. Shui Wanzher sighed softly. So you can see it too, that's what my father said in the end. Yi Ming. How can someone like the God Lord be easily fooled? He can control and kill the 5 great emperors one by one, which shows how powerful he is. If I hadn't released the news, he would have already died at this moment. With the help of the puppet emperor, the 5 dynasties have been unified. Shui Wanzher looked surprised. It seems that I underestimated you. Although my father has a similar deduction, he is not sure, and he only thought of it not long ago. Yi Ming. Which one of the immortal level powerhouses is not as wise as the sea? It is not easy for anyone to plot against others. Besides, the God Lord has been able to operate under the eyes of the 5 dynasties for so many years, and his methods are so clever. It's self-explanatory. Shui Wanzhi pursed her lips and smiled. If my father heard what you said, he would definitely find ways to accept you as his apprentice. Yi Ming was surprised. Accept me as an apprentice? How do you say this? My father thinks very highly of himself. He has been trying his best to find a successor for nearly 100 years, but unfortunately no one can catch his eye. Your wisdom and aptitude can meet his requirements, so he is naturally willing to accept you as a disciple. Shui Wanzhi said, well, if you are interested, I am willing to introduce you. Yi Ming waved his hand quickly. He has the books in the Palace of Eternal Life, so he doesn't need to be a teacher at all. Moreover, he already had a master, whether it was Yi Shantian or Wu Chenying, they were all of great help to him. Forget it then. Shui Wanzhi didn't seem to feel relieved, but just mentioned casually, tell me, what do you want from me? It's not a big deal, I hope you can help me save 3 people. At that moment, he briefly explained the situation. When Wu De heard that he was going to save the 3 beauties, he immediately sneered, why, are those 3 your beauties? Yi Ming smiled bitterly. Don't talk nonsense, they are my master's friends. If a man and a woman get close, they are either siblings or lovers. Shui Wanzhi curled her lips, I don't believe you when you say they are your friends. Yi Ming didn't bother to explain. Believe it or not, I just ask, can you help me? Help. Shui Wanzhi was very straightforward, but you have to promise me one condition. Let's hear it. Yi Ming was very cautious and asked first. I don't care about your master, the other 2 girls, I don't allow you to see them together for too long. Once they are rescued, I will send them back to their respective places. Will you agree? Shui Wanzhi put forward a condition. Yi Ming was stunned, and asked strangely, why do you want to do this? I'm afraid that you 2 will fall in love for a long time. If you are lonely and unbearable, it will be bad if you break your golden body. Shui Wanzhi didn't know if she was joking or speaking normally. Yi Ming snorted. If I was so unfocused, my golden body would have been broken long ago. The so-called golden body refers to the body of a virgin. The virgin body is not broken, it is like a golden body, which is of great help to practice. But now that Yi Ming has become a martial lord, it doesn't make much sense whether he wants this golden body or not. I don't believe you. Shui Wanzhi choked on Yi Ming's words and was speechless. Okay, once they are rescued, I will send them away. Yi Ming had to agree. In fact, he really didn't have too many thoughts about Yan Ruyu and Marong Shuijiao. Most of the time, he pretended to be Su Lan alone. Okay, as long as you promise, the rest will be easy. Shui Wanzhi smiled slightly, you don't even need to save people, I can take them all away. Yi Mingqi said, what can you do? Could it be that you asked your parents to help? It's such a trivial matter, I don't need an immortal level master. Shui Wanzhi looked smug, that Feng Wusheng followed me like a toad, so I said I wanted a few maids to wait on me, so I picked Marong Shuijiao and others. People, measure him and dare not refuse. Yi Ming. Feng Wusheng treats you so hard and has ulterior motives, don't be fooled. Shui Wanzhi seemed to like his concern very much, and said, don't worry, he is not good enough for me. Yi Ming was a little afraid to answer her words, and said, do as you say first, if Feng Wusheng refuses to give it to me, I will rescue it later. Shui Wanzhi said, don't worry, he will definitely agree, because if he wants to enter the Legend Academy, he must have my recommendation. Yi Ming wondered. Legendary Academy, why haven't I heard of it? Of course you haven't heard of it. Legendary Academy has always actively recruited people, so few outsiders have heard of it. Even my parents only learned about it after I joined Legendary Academy. What kind of existence is the Legendary Academy? Is it the same as the 4 Great Academy? Yi Ming couldn't help asking. Shui Wanzhi. Legendary Academy transcends every big world. It is an institution established by the strongest of the entire human civilization. The purpose is to cultivate true geniuses among mankind. Yi Ming was shocked at this moment. What? It was established by the strong of the entire human civilization. Have you joined? Of course. Shui Wanzhi said, and my grades in the school are pretty good, and my instructor appreciates me quite a lot. Because of this, I got a recommended spot. Recommended quota. Yi Ming's heart skipped a beat. Yes, I am qualified to recommend someone to join the Legendary Academy. The Academy will conduct inspections on the person I recommend, and as long as they pass the inspection, they can become a member of the Legendary Academy. Shui Wanzhi said, however, the inspection is extremely difficult. Although Feng Wusheng intends to join the academy, he absolutely has no chance. At this moment, Bei Ming said, Master must join the Legendary Academy. Yi Ming also had this thought, so he asked carefully, I don't know, do I have a chance? Shui Wanzhi looked at him with a half smile. Why, do you want to join the academy? Yi Ming nodded. Naturally. People go to high places. Of course I want to go. The stage of Tianyuan continent is not too big for me, Shui Wanzhi. I can promise you, but unfortunately your conditions are not enough, so I can only praise you for keeping this quota first. I'm not qualified enough. How do you say that? Yi Ming was disappointed. The school has very high requirements for recommenders. You can only join after you become a martial god or a god. And even if you join, you can only be a handyman at the beginning, with no status. Shui Wanzhi said helplessly, I don't know, can you accept it? Yi Ming's eyes widened. What? Gods are going to be handymen? Shui Wanzhi said lightly. What kind of gods? Monks in Tianyuan continent have no eyesight, and they call people in the Fadian realm also gods. In fact, monks in the Fadian realm are generally called mages, immortal realms are called Dharma kings, and only people in the eternal realm can be called gods. Looking at the entire human civilization, only those with a strong immortality can barely be considered number one. Yi Ming said. I don't know who established the Legendary Academy. You should have heard that they are the three disciples of Ren Zhu, that is, the three emperors. Shui Wanzhi said, the Emperor of Heaven, the Emperor of Earth, and the Emperor of Ren have created a legendary school together. This reminds me of the trial site and the road to becoming a god. Like the legendary school, they seem to exist to cultivate human geniuses. Yi Ming immediately found out the commonality of the three and said. Shui Wanzhi nodded. That's right, you have good eyesight. My instructor once told me that the trial ground, the road to becoming a god, and the Legendary Academy are the hands of three forces among the strong human beings. These three forces are all important. Achievement in any aspect will become a peerless powerhouse. Yi Ming knew that Shui Wanzhi probably didn't know the details of the three forces, so he didn't ask, and just said, you must reserve that spot for me, and I will definitely thank you in the future. I don't want your big thanks, just don't embarrass others. Shui Wanzhi said. Yi Ming was very unconvinced, and said, you seem to look down on me when you talk. Although you are from the legendary school, I may not be worse than you. Really? Shui Wanzhi laughed. That day you easily broke through the big formation I set up and broke out of the heavenly palace, you must be proficient in reckoning, right? Yi Ming didn't hide it, and said, I am good at chaos calculus and Tai magic, and I already have a lot of experience. Shui Wanzhi laughed immediately. No wonder. You actually practice these two exercises at the same time. But if I tell you that chaos algorithm and Tai divine art are compulsory homework in the legendary school, do you believe it? Yi Ming was taken aback. What? Required homework? Shui Wanzhi immediately spread out her slender hands, and immediately the shadow of the 7-element calculation array appeared. Terrifying. So I am 7 yuan calculation array. Yi Ming exclaimed. In the Legendary Academy, there are the most tyrannical exercises in all human civilizations. Chaos arithmetic and Tai magic are not the strongest. Shui Wanzhi said lightly, as long as your aptitude is strong enough, the academy will definitely train you to become strong. Yi Ming narrowed his eyes, looked at Shui Wanzhi carefully, and asked, your father is the number 1 person on the Tianyuan list, and your mother is the strongest among the Tianyuan 9 demons. Your aptitude must be very terrifying. So I am very surprised why your cultivation base is not high. Did you see it? Shui Wanzhi shrugged. That's right, what I have come is just a clone. The deity is still studying hard in the academy. Yi Ming smiled bitterly. I don't know, how is your real strength? Shui Wanzhi. My deity majors in the civilization of immortals, and is currently equivalent to the strength of the 4 realms of longevity. Yi Ming took a deep breath and said with emotion, no wonder you can enter the legendary school, you are really amazing. Shui Wanzhi. What's so great about me? The real geniuses in the academy, even I can hardly hold a candle to. Yi Ming, you won't know how big the world is until you really enter the academy. Yi Ming grinned. The stronger they are, the better, otherwise it will be too disappointing. Shui Wanzhi shook her head. When you see a human genius, you won't say that anymore. Yi Ming disagreed, and said, I won't underestimate the heroes of the world, but it's not that I haven't met geniuses from all major civilizations, including the civilization of immortals, the civilization of Buddha, the civilization of Confucianism, etc. When I was in the trial ground, there really isn't anything that surprises me. Have you ever been to the trial site? Shui Wanzhi didn't look surprised. The opening of the trial site will be carried out every once in a while, and the genius level of the participants is not high. After you become a Valkyrie, only then will we encounter real geniuses who can stand shoulder to shoulder with legendary schools in the trial ground. Listening to Shui Wanzhi admiring the legendary academy so much, it seems that the 4 great lands and the 5 colleges are not worth mentioning in front of it. Yi Ming couldn't help yearning for it, and asked, does the legendary academy recruit people every year? The school takes the initiative to recruit once every 10 years, and only 300 people are recruited each time. Of the 300 people, only 100 of them pass the assessment and enter the school as bachelors. All the bachelors are amazing talents. Among them I dare not underestimate any of them. Shui Wanzhi said, I have the strength of the 4 realms of longevity, and I am only a 4th level bachelor. A bachelor's degree. What about a bachelor's degree? Yi Ming asked. There are 9 levels of bachelors. Above the bachelors are the great bachelors. Above the bachelors are the leaders. There is no limit to the number of bachelors. The number of bachelors will always be 12, and the number of leaders will always be only 1. The leader is the head of the institution. The leader has the strongest strength, the strongest wisdom, and the strongest luck. I can even conclude that the leader is one of the most powerful among all human beings. At least he can be ranked in the top 3. Yi Ming was deeply shocked. He thought for a while and said, the leader is so strong, he must be an eternal level strong man. Naturally, Shui Wanzhi was very sure, if human beings can build a super civilization in the future, it must be due to the legendary schools. While speaking, a servant girl came and said from a distance, Miss Shui, the prince is here to invite you. Shui Wanzhi smiled slightly. Feng Wusheng is looking for me, do you want to see him? Yi Ming turned his back, stretched out his hand to wipe his face, and immediately changed into another look, and said with a smile, just say I am your cousin. When he opened his mouth, even his voice changed. Shui Wanzhi pursed her lips and smiled. Cousin, let's go. Shui Wanzhi and Yi Ming walked out of the pavilion and went straight to the prince's mansion. The prince's mansion is not far from here, and it will be there in a short while. The palace is very magnificently built. In the central hall, there are experts gathering at this moment. If you look around, it's either a martial god or a god, and none of them is weak. As soon as Shui Wanzhi arrived, everyone bowed their hands. Her status is not ordinary. Her parents are both the world's top powerhouses, who would dare to underestimate her? Even Feng Wusheng greeted him with a face full of spring breeze, saying, Sister Wanzhi, you are here. Shui Wanzhi smiled slightly and said, I kept you waiting for a long time, you called me, what do you want? I don't dare to obey the order. My people found a site in the Void Heaven realm. It is preliminarily inferred that it may be a medicine garden in the ancient heaven. According to rumors, the Emperor of Heaven has cultivated undead medicine, and even foreign objects such as wish fruits and cursed flowers. If we can enter, we will gain a lot. Feng Wusheng said excitedly. Shui Wanzhi was not agitated at all, but calmly said, if you can go in by yourself, you probably won't be able to find me, right? Feng Wusheng hastily said, where is Miss Wanzhi talking? Although it is difficult to enter that place, it is not impossible. The reason why I called my sister is to share with you. Shui Wanzhi snorted softly, and said, okay, let's go, I want to see if you can open the medicine garden in heaven. Feng Wusheng was a little embarrassed, and said with a dry smile, to open the medicine garden, I need to borrow something from Wanzhi. Shui Wanzhi gave him a sideways look, and asked, could it be that you are planning to hit me with the flying dragon staff? Feng Wusheng nodded hastily. That's right, the restriction in the medicine garden is very important. If there is no flying dragon staff, it will not be possible to open it in a short time. Shui Wanzhi rolled her eyes and said, I can lend you the flying dragon staff, but you have to promise me a few conditions. Feng Wusheng was overjoyed. The medicine garden was too important to him, and immediately said, don't mention a few conditions, dozens of conditions are agreed. Don't be so happy, just listen to me, Shui Wanzhi said. First, I heard that you imprisoned 3 beauties, one named Yan Ruyu, one named Wu Chenying, and one named Marong Shuijiao. A woman, I want it. Feng Wusheng was stunned, and asked in shock, Sister Wanzhi, what do you want them to do? Naturally, it is used as a girl. You also know that the girl next to me is too ugly. I don't like it, and I have long intended to change some beautiful ones. Shui Wanzhi gave a reason casually. Feng Wusheng smiled bitterly. He hesitated and said, but sister, these 3 are of great use to me. You just say yes or no, don't need to talk about your difficulties. Shui Wanzhi's face turned cold, as if she got up to leave. Feng Wusheng was taken aback, and quickly said, okay, I agree. The second condition, after the medicine garden is opened, you can only enter 5 people. Shui Wanzhi said, I have 2 people here, that is, me and my cousin. It wasn't until this moment that Feng Wusheng noticed Yi Ming's existence, because the transformed Yi Ming was so ordinary that no one would notice him wherever he stood. Feng Wusheng looked at his unattractive cousin who didn't seem to have a high level of cultivation, and said with a smile, okay, I agree to this condition, is there any more? The third condition, you can't fight for anything my cousin and I find, otherwise, I will lead my parents here as soon as possible, and level up your prince's mansion. The last condition, Shui Wanzhi said, the domineering incomparable. No way, who told her parents to be the strongest in the world? Feng Wusheng felt chills all over his body when he heard it, and quickly said, don't worry, Sister Huang, the things will belong to whoever finds them. I have the courage of a bear and a leopard, and I dare not take your things. He offered 3 conditions, and Feng Wusheng agreed to all of them. Only then was Shui Wanzhi satisfied, and secretly said to Yi Ming, the 4 great sacred lands, the 9 holy lands, and people from all major forces have all turned to the various forces. Feng Wusheng has also recruited a lot of staff, and there are so many experts around him. If we don't limit the number of people, we will definitely suffer after entering. Yi Ming was very happy and said, Wanzhi, do you want to find something in the medicine garden? Shui Wanzhi nodded. Naturally. I heard from my father that there are 3 most precious places in the ancient heavenly court, namely the Heavenly Emperor's medicine garden, the Emperor's longevity hall, and the Queen's Yaoqi. In the medicine garden, there are wonderful medicine, every taste is extremely precious. Yi Ming's heart moved, he put his hand into his pocket, and touched the head of Baoshu. For such a long time, Treasure Mouse has not made any achievements. Hearing this conversation, he immediately became eager to move. When it comes to looking for magic medicine, no one is more suitable than Treasure Hunting Mouse. No one knows what the situation in the medicine garden is, and there may not be any panacea left. Yi Ming said, we still don't have too much hope. Try your luck, maybe you will gain something. Shui Wanzhi winked at him. Feng Wusheng obviously didn't plan to go to the medicine garden right away. He had a big banquet next, and many strong people came one after another. Yi Ming roughly counted, and there are hundreds of martial gods and gods around Feng Wusheng just because he can see it. Wanzher, it must be that the major forces are infiltrating each other, and they really have their own thoughts. Yi Ming said with emotion. Shui Wanzher. Of course, the forces of the four great gods and lands are all supporting the agent with all their strength in order to resist the rise of the God Master, and Feng Wusheng is one of the representatives. The two were chatting, eating delicious food and drinking fine wine, and suddenly they heard Feng Wusheng say, "This dear brother is Wanzher's sister's cousin, why hasn't this king heard of it? I don't know your name, where is the mountain gate?" Yi Ming was neither humble nor overbearing, and said, "I am under the name of Wu, a small casual cultivator, not worth mentioning." "Hey, Sister Wanzher's cousin must have something special," Feng Wusheng said. "Next, the generals under my king's account will conduct a war game. Do you intend to participate?" It turned out that at this moment, Feng Wusheng saw Shui Wanzher walking very close to Yi Ming, whispering when talking, and felt jealous in his heart, so he asked him to come out to participate in the war game deduction. The so-called war game deduction is actually to simulate a war environment with the help of military equipment, and the ideas of both sides enter it separately to command thousands of troops. All martial artists above the martial lord can perform deduction. Shui Wanzher glanced at it, and said, "You don't have to agree, this guy just wants to drive you away, and make you make a fool of yourself." "I'm not afraid," Yi Ming said, "although I haven't played war games before, it's not difficult to think about it as your cousin of Shui Wanzher, I can't be too good at it." As he spoke, he stood up and said with a smile, "It's better to obey than to be respectful." Afterwards, a sergeant carried a square table into the arena. The table was 3 feet long, very huge, with mountains and rivers engraved on it, and densely packed runes, like soldiers one by one. And this is exactly the military equipment used in war chess deduction, the war chess table. Behind Feng Wusheng, a young general walked out. His face was like a silver basin, his eyes were like sun and moon, and his appearance was majestic, very extraordinary. Seeing this person, even Yi Ming opened his eyes slightly, and secretly praised him. Shui Wanzher said via voice transmission, "This man's name is Ma Shanchao, he is a newly rising famous general. Although he is only a martial artist, his potential is limitless. Even my father once praised him." Yi Mingxin said that it would be a waste for such a talent to be around Feng Wusheng. He smiled and said, "Certificate, please." Ma Shanchao nodded slightly and said, "Please first." Yi Ming pressed his hands on the table, his soul power instantly activated the weapon, and his spirit immediately entered an illusory, vast time and space. Surrounded by endless mountains, plains, and a million troops hiding everywhere. This 1 million army, including crossbowmen, archers, swordsmen, spearmen, artillerymen, etc., are all